This morning I'm going to be sharing something with you that I don't often do during a program like this, but I want to share my personal testimony with you of how I came to the Lord. And of course, some things I share are not in the book, and there's a lot more in the book that I don't have time to share, and it's called The Richest Caveman. Now, I want to begin with the Bible, though, and I'm going to take you to a story that you find in the book of Luke. You actually find it in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. I'm going to go to Luke chapter 8, and it's the story of the demoniac. I'll not read the whole thing, but if you look in Luke chapter 8, verse 26, they sailed to the country of the Gadarenes, which is opposite Galilee, and when he stepped out on land, there met him a certain man from the city who had demons for a long time, and he wore no clothes, nor did he live in a house, but in the tombs. And the Bible tells us in the Gospel of Mark chapter 5, and he was covered with chains, and he went around crying and cutting himself with stones always in the mountains. This very sad, doleful cry. But when he saw Jesus, he ran to him, just like he was, and he fell down before him. And he wanted to open his mouth and pray, but instead the demons spoke. "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For he, Jesus, had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For it had often seized him, and he was kept under guard, bound with chains and shackles. And he broke the bonds and was driven by the demon into the wilderness. And Jesus asked him, saying, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," because many demons had entered him. So this is, in my opinion, the story of the most lost man in the Bible. When the disciples, right after Jesus crosses the Sea of Galilee, there's that story where there's a storm at night and he calms the storm. And then they bring the boat ashore, and after the boat lands, the hillside is covered with these graves and caves, and all of a sudden they hear this terrible shriek, and this creature comes charging out of one of these tombs, running down the hill. He's covered with broken chains that are clanging as he goes around his wrists and his ankle and his neck. His eyes are glaring. He's got long, dirty, matted hair, no clothes, exposing his body that is cut with self-inflicted scars and filth. And he comes running towards the disciples. And Peter says to John, "Do you have any tracts where we could share with him? I want to witness. Got a Bible study to give this guy." I don't think so. I think they ran and they jumped in the boat and tried to paddle away as quick as they could. But they left Jesus on the shore. Jesus did not run. This man came to Christ as he was, just completely lost, filled with the devil. It's quite a picture. On the shore that day, you see the two polar opposites of God's plan. You see one man who is full of God, Jesus, and you see one man who is full of the devil, and they have a face-off there. It makes you wonder what's going to happen. The ultimate showdown. The devil's plan for you is that man, naked, covered with scars and chains and out of his mind, surrounded by pigs, you read on in the story, surrounded by tombs. In the Bible, blood was unclean. He's cutting himself. He's unclean. Pigs are unclean. Death is unclean. He's surrounded with corpses. This man is unclean, unclean, unclean. He's as lost as they come. You cannot look in the Bible and find anyone more lost than that man. But that man came to Jesus as he was. The Lord heard the prayer in his heart, and Jesus set him free. That, to me, is the most radical conversion in the Bible. The Apostle Paul's pretty radical, too, when you read about it. I'd like to share with you how the Lord got my attention. Hopefully some of you will be encouraged by this. Everybody wants happiness. That's normal. The Lord wired us this way, but the problem is most people believe that happiness comes from if I could just be more popular, better looking, or if I could have more money, then I'd be happy. That's my mom and my dad many years ago. My dad was a Republican born in the country. He was an Okie. My mother was a Democrat born in New York City. He was a very good businessman. She was in the arts. He was a redneck. Use that word up here? And she was a hippie. I mean, they're just totally opposite. She smoked pot, he drank alcohol. They're just completely different. My father was very successful as a businessman. He was in World War II as a pilot, and after the war, he began to buy and sell Army surplus planes until he built an empire in the aviation industry where he had aircraft. He had the biggest aircraft leasing company in the world. He owned 2 airlines, had airplane repair companies, and he had a lot of money. But he wasn't very happy. Dad drank himself to sleep every night. It was not a very happy home. There was a lot of yelling and cursing, and don't remember ever getting hugged as a kid by my father. It was all just work, 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 to be more powerful, more money. He was very poor when he was young. He wanted to compensate for that. But with all that money, he couldn't sleep at night without pills or alcohol because there was so much stress. Karen is by occupation a physical therapist. I just snapped this picture of her. My dad was real tense and she was trying to help him feel better. Jesus said a man's life does not consist in the abundance of things that he possesses. And it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom than a camel to go through the eye of a needle. Happiness does not come from the abundance of things. Jesus said, do not lay up for yourself treasure on earth where thieves break through and steal, where moth and rust does corrupt, and all the toys end up breaking. You have to worry about people stealing them to insure them, to protect them. Happiness doesn't come from money. I could see that. Many of my dad's friends, of course, were very wealthy, and our neighbors, and there was so much unhappiness. And growing up, I saw that, and I thought, there's got to be more. On the other hand, my mother, she was in show business. She was from a Jewish background. My mother was 100% Jewish. My dad came from a Baptist, Irish, English background. I'm a typical mutt, a little bit of everything. And my mother was very talented, though. She didn't have a lot of formal education, but she could play the piano, she could sing, she played the guitar, she wrote songs. She was very attractive, I thought. She was an actress. She had a lot of small parts in movies. Some of you probably saw the movie The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. My mother was in that movie, but it's a very small part. We'd watch it with the kids. I'd say, there goes Grandma. There she is. Do you catch that? Because that was her. She was that slave that walked by. But she really became famous as a songwriter. She wrote songs for Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra, Andy Williams, some of the old artists. She's written some that were what you call standards with Kenny Rankin and others. But mostly her fame came through, she was a film critic. And she was the president of the Beverly Hills Film Critics in Los Angeles. So she had a very influential position. And also had her own private syndicated program called Ruth Batchelor's Hollywood. And it's a very powerful position. And if you said that a movie was terrible in your review, they lost millions of dollars. If you said it was great, then the ticket sales would go up and they made a lot more money. Some of the kids that I grew up with that were child actors were talented, good-looking, healthy, and I know some that committed suicide. From the world's point of view, they had everything. They were wealthy, they were healthy, they were popular, they were talented, and they were tormented because they thought life had no purpose. They had what they thought everybody would want. It's a very shallow world in Hollywood. So I could see that pretty quick growing up, that happiness didn't come from money. It didn't bring a lot of happiness to our home, and it didn't come from popularity. And after Mom passed away, it just helped me realize that I'm so thankful that I found what the purpose of life is. I got into a lot of trouble. The drinking, the drugs. I started running away from home the first time when I was 13 years old. By the time I was 16, I was living by myself in Boston. This is actually a picture that was taken during that time. Believe it or not, I had hair at one time. And I ran away from home. I got a driver's license that said I was 2 years older than I actually was. I got a job. I'm in Boston. I'm stealing cars. I'm breaking into homes, and I get a job as a security guard. Believe it or not. And while I'm working as a security guard, I never stole from the people I guarded because they trust me. But I'd steal during the daytime because if you walk out of a house with a television during the day, they think you're moving in the apartments in Boston. But at night, I would guard places. One of my friends, who was a security guard, he knew about my day job, and I thought he was going to turn me in. I'd get fired. And I said, "No, Doug, I'm not going to turn you in." He said, "Your karma's going to get you." I said, "Karma?" He said, "Yeah, whatever you do comes back. That's in the Bible. With what measure you meet, it'll be measured to you again." I said, "There's no God." He said, "Oh, yeah, there's a God, and whatever you do, it happens back to you." I said, "No, there's no God. I stole that television. I got rid of it. Nothing happened." He said, "You'll see." I don't know if he was praying for me or what, but a few days after that conversation, I woke up in my apartment in Boston, and the door was open, and my TV was gone. And I was really mad. I called the police, too. I said, "You guys, you got to track what's happening to our neighborhood. You got to track these people down." And my radio was gone. And I started watching. I noticed that everything I did kind of backfired. I'd steal something. My friends were all thieves. They'd steal it from me. Or I'd steal something, and I was drunk or high, and I'd hide it. And then I'd wake up and think, "I know I stole it. Where'd I put it?" Or I'd risk my life to steal a stereo, and I'd get back huffing and puffing. I'd plug it in. It was broken. I stole a broken stereo. It didn't even work. And just everything was going wrong. And what finally convinced me there was a supernatural power was really a very little thing. I went to someone's house, and I stole their box of Krusty's instant pancake mix. And on top of the box, this is before they had the barcode, on top of the box was a little blue stamp with a price, and it said $1.19. I stole it because I was very health conscious back then, I'm smoking and I'm drinking, I'm taking drugs, but I only ate whole wheat. Because I was a hippie, It's really hypocritical when you think about it. But that same day I stole the pancake mix, I came back to my place. Somebody had taken my brand new jar of Tang powdered orange juice. They drank the whole thing. Some friends came through. They drank the whole jar. And there by the empty jar was the lid, and it was stamped $1.19. And I looked at the pancake mix I'd just stolen. And I thought, crime doesn't pay. There must be a God. I said, everything I'm doing, it's backfiring on me. Now that frightened me when I thought about that. Because I thought, well, if there's a God, then maybe there's something beyond this life. Maybe there's a heaven, and maybe there's the other place. And I knew where I was going because I was really pretty rotten. Just to give you an example, I had a friend got a brand new bicycle for his birthday. I broke into his house and stole, it was actually Christmas, I stole his bike, very expensive bike. I then sold it to another friend who tried to change the serial number and repaint it so nobody would know. I then stole it from him, and I sold it to someone else. I didn't care about anybody. You know why? I didn't think anyone cared about me. So once I saw there was a God, that really caught my attention. And I thought, wow. Right away, I thought, I'm not interested in Christianity. They're all hypocrites. You look on the news, and it says the Protestants in Ireland were blowing up the Catholics, and the Catholics were killing the Protestants. And I said, Christians are all hypocrites. I made the common mistake people make. When I wanted to know what a Christian was, I looked at Christians. Is a Christian a follower of Christians? Or is a Christian a follower of Christ? Jesus will never let you down. People will always let you down. Don't fix your eyes on people. Fix your eyes on Christ. He's the one that we should lift up. So I began to explore some of the Eastern religions. This is back during the days of the Beatles. And so I kind of got into transcendental meditation and Buddhism. And I was meditating. I got into yoga. That's where you look for God by standing on your head. And I found my hair fell out when I did that.
We hope you've enjoyed our weekly Amazing Facts Ministries programs. This week we have a special gift to share with you. It will help you better understand important biblical topics that will enhance your life and inspire you to further study the Bible. Because we believe you will be blessed by this gift, we will mail it to you free of charge. Give us a call to place your order today. Simply call, write, or email and ask for a free offer number displayed on your screen. Our toll-free number is 1-877-721-3800.
And so I ran away from home for the last time. Family went snow skiing up in Canada, and after we got back, when Dad said time to go back to school, I disappeared. I took off hitchhiking from Miami, Florida. I thought, now I'm going to find God in nature. I wanted to go live in the mountains in Southern California because I found something when I was 16 years old hitchhiking around, and I wanted to go there. But I had a terrible experience. On the way from Miami to California, it's a long way. It's like 3,000 miles. I ran out of money, drinking, playing pool, making dumb bets. I lost all my money. I got out on the highway in Oklahoma, and it was freezing weather. It's Christmas time, and it gets, 20 below zero. It wasn't that cold, but it gets real cold in Oklahoma. And I was standing out there. I'm wearing clothing from Florida. I hadn't thought to bring anything warm. And I'm freezing, and I'm out there on the highway begging for a ride. And every time a car goes by, it's like you're praying, please help me. Please help me. Please help me. And you stand there for hours, and that's a lot of rejection. And sometimes it got so desperate, I would get on my knees and go like this as a car went by. I'd beg. And they wouldn't stop. And I'd see them, they're going my way. They've got a big heated car. There's only one person in the car, plenty of room. And you're saying, please, I'm dying. They don't care. They go on by. I became so desperate, I prayed. And I asked God for 4 specific things. I said, Lord, I know I've been a terrible person. I didn't meditate. This was new for me. I've been talking directly to God, whoever he was. I just didn't know, and I'm reaching out. I didn't know how to pray. I went to Catholic school. I knew the Lord's Prayer. But I was just really praying, and I said, Lord, I've been a terrible person. Please forgive me. Please help me. I'm dying out here. I was hungry. I was sick from drinking. I was broke. And I said, help me get a ride to where I'm going. Still had almost 2,000 miles to go. I said, please help me get some food. I'm hungry. Please help me get some money. I'm broke. And I said, please help me get a ride with someone normal, because I was getting picked up by all these crazy people. I got picked up by these college students that were smoking so much pot they couldn't see out the windshield. They ran across the middle of the road into oncoming traffic. I got picked up by another guy that was drinking. It was on a windy road, and he said, watch this, I can drive in the dark. And he's drunk, and he turns off the lights. He says, and so it's scary. You think it's not safe to pick up hitchhikers. It's not safe to hitchhike. And among hitchhikers, there's a saying, the only people that pick up hitchhikers are crazy people and Christians. And so I said, please help me get a ride with someone normal. The next ride that came by, I'd been out there for hours. The next vehicle stopped. He picked me up. It was a white van. He gave me a ride from Oklahoma to Southern California, took me to the door of where I was going. I didn't ask him to. He fed me all the way out. I didn't ask him to. Every time we stopped, he'd buy my food. He dropped me off. He gave me $40 that I didn't ask for. I also did not ask for him to preach to me all the way from Oklahoma to California. He's what you call a born-again Christian. He was so excited about it. He was just shining, and he was talking. Everybody, he'd be witnessing to the people at the gas station, and he'd witness in the restaurant, and he was just full of the Lord. And all this time I'm thinking, my mother was Jewish. I thought, Christians, please don't bother me. They persecute the Jews all through history. I had this really bad idea about Christians. And I had to listen to him or get out of the car. So we're driving along. He's preaching to me. I'm going, yeah, yeah. So the Bible's a fairy tale. How can you believe that? So after I went hitchhiking from Florida to California, he let me off, gave me some money. Now I moved up into the mountains, and this is actually a picture that my brother took during that time. I moved into a cave way up in the mountains above Palm Springs. And there's a mountain there. It's 11,000 feet high. I don't know what that is in meters for you folks, but it's a beautiful area. You can see the top of Mount San Jacinto there, and there's a canyon that goes all the way down towards Palm Springs. As a matter of fact, the water that supplies Palm Springs ran by my cave. And I had a waterfall and a pool that I'd swim in. It kind of gave me some kind of evil satisfaction to think that I was swimming in Bob Hope's drinking water every time. But I lived up there for about a year and a half. I never wore any clothes most of the year. I do have one picture with clothes on for your benefit. That's inside the cave. And I had a cat named Stranger. It had a big opening on it, and so it got sunshine. I had a back bedroom cave where I'd go in at night. And now, while I was living up there, trying to find God through nature, I was into the American Indian religions. I was taking peyote and doing hallucinogenics, trying to find God through drugs, and it, it didn't make any sense. But there was a Bible in the cave. Someone had left a dusty Bible in the cave. Other people had camped there. You could see black smoke on the ceiling, and there were some old pots and pans people had left from camping there before. And I saw the Bible. I didn't think much of it. I'd seen Bibles in every hotel room, so it didn't mean much to me. But a voice kept telling me to pick it up and read it. And I thought, no, I'm not interested. But people kept arguing with me. I'd meet these Jesus freaks, is what we called them in town. They were kind of hippies that got converted to Christ, and they were very bold, and it's like they were a little bit high and holy at the same time. And so they're preaching to me, and they'd say, "Are you sanctified? Have you been washed in the blood?" And I said, what are they talking about? And so I thought, I'm going to read the Bible so I can argue with Christians. I didn't intend to believe it. I thought it was a collection of fables. So I started reading the Bible, and I got stuck in Exodus somewhere where they're building the temple. I thought, I don't know what all that means. The sockets go here and the sockets go there. And so I said to a friend, he said, no, Doug, you need to go to the New Testament. He showed me how to find that. I started reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and as I'm reading, I think, this can't be true. But a little voice said, this is the truth. And everything I read about Jesus, it shocked me. For one thing, I had no idea how many times I'd heard Jesus quotes in my life. I didn't know it came from Jesus. Go the second mile. Oh, Jesus said that. Turn the other cheek. Oh, Jesus said that. I didn't know that. And so I began to say, wow, this is a lot of quotes of the Bible. This is an amazing book. And it really convinced me there was something supernatural about the book. Finally, I had to get to the place where I said, Jesus really lived. He was either insane, or he was a liar, or he's telling the truth. C.S. Lewis says he's either liar, Lord, or lunatic. Those are your only choices. I tried everything else, and my life was a mess. I mean, I was like that demoniac. I was running around naked up in the mountains, eating out of garbage cans, cursing, panhandling, shoplifting. I mean, I really was pretty far from God. And I came to the Lord just like I was up there in the mountains. I said, all right, Lord, I've tried everything else. If you're real, you need to show me. You need to come into my life and give me some purpose for living. I was a big zero. And when I prayed and I invited Jesus into and I tried everything else, I just felt this incredible peace come over me. And as I continued to read the Bible, I knew it was true. And I started praying. I saw the most incredible answers to prayer, not just praying for a ride, hitchhiking. I'd go to town and I'd pray. I'd have no money. I'd walk into a restaurant and say, Lord, I have no money. Please feed me. The waitress would walk up and say, can I buy your food today? You ever had that happen? I had such simple faith. I was praying crazy prayers, and God was answering them. And I said, wow, God is real. And I was so excited, I wanted to tell everybody. I said, Lord, there's one Bible, one Holy Spirit, one Jesus Christ. Why are there so many different Christian denominations? I said, Lord, I want you to show me what the truth is. And after I prayed that prayer, somebody came by my cave, 3,500 feet up in these desert mountains. They gave me a book called The Great Controversy. You ever heard of that? Because at that point, living in a cave 5 minutes above me, there's only two people in the canyon, me and a friend who had been raised a Seventh-day Adventist. He knew I was looking for the truth, and even though he had kind of wandered from the Lord, he knew it was the truth. And he said, look, Doug, if you want to know what the Bible really teaches, this is it. I read that book, Great Controversy. It was so full of scripture, the whole Bible began to make sense for me. And that's... I didn't want to believe it, but I had no choice. I didn't want to be different, but I had no choice. I said, if I'm going to be a Bible Christian, this is the closest thing to the Bible. And so for the last 40 years, that's what I've been doing. And God, you never would have thought if you'd seen me back then, this guy's going to be a pastor someday. But God's taken us around the world, literally around the world, sharing the gospel. He has a big plan for your life too. I came to the Lord, I was nothing. I was naked. I was in the mountains. I was like an animal. He accepted me just like I was. I was sinful. And he forgave me, and he cleansed me, and he commissioned me, and he wants to do that for you. Now, in the interval, all of my immediate families passed away. My mother, my father, my brother. I remember before my brother died, I went to visit him. He was struggling to breathe, and he asked if I'd walk with him around a golf course. And we're walking together. He says, Doug, life's not fair. He said, I'm smart, but I'm sick. And he said, you're so healthy, but you're stupid. and he said, I would give everything I've got if I could have your lungs. Now, my brother, he stayed home. He went to college. He tried to work for Dad as long as his health permitted. He had a house on Miami Beach and the boat and the cars. And he said, I'd give everything if I could have your lungs and live a little longer. And here I thought, wow, Falcon would give up everything for a little more of this life. And some people are afraid to give up anything for Jesus and everlasting life. When my brother was dying, I came to Florida as quick as I could, and I was with him and able to talk to him. And he used to always tease me when I prayed. They called me the preacher, and he'd make fun of me. But at the end there, I said, Falcon, can I pray with you? Do you want to accept Jesus? And he said, yes. I was able to pray with my brother. What profit is it if you gain the whole world and lose your soul? Jesus has a plan for you, and he wants to activate that plan. But you're only going to find peace and happiness through him. It doesn't come through fame. It doesn't come through fortune. It comes through coming to Jesus just like you are.
Here at Amazing Facts Ministries, we are dedicated to sharing God's Word all across Canada. We would like to extend to you the opportunity of joining us in this important work through your financial contributions. You will receive a tax-deductible receipt for your donations. You can also call us to donate. Simply dial 1-877-721-3800. Or by visiting our donations webpage at amazingfactsministries.com, where we also have a great selection of video programs and podcasts on many Bible topics that can be viewed online. Join us each week as we share the Word of God that will change your life. If you have a specific prayer request or a question on a topic from the Bible, send us an email and we will add you to our prayer list and help answer your questions. Our email address is contact@amazingfactsministries.com.